Okay, so dopamine is a pretty important neurotransmitter when we're describing and discussing the actions and effects of drugs, because dopamine release is associated with stimuli that predict the delivery of reward should you act upon those stimuli. So there's significant elements of movement that are associated with dopamine release, and also with motivation, with motivated behaviors. And dopamine is a classical neurotransmitter, which once again means it was one of those that was identified early historically. So it's one of those that's been studied for a long time. It's also a monoamine neurotransmitter, which means it's got one amino group. It's got that NH2 group, which also means that it's manufactured, right, synthesized from an amino acid. And it's synthesized from the amino acid known as tyrosine. And we're going to see that norepinephrine, which is another monoamine neurotransmitter, is also synthesized from tyrosine. Serotonin, which is our third, monoamine neurotransmitter that we're going to be discussing, is synthesized from a different amino acid, one called tryptophan. So dopamine and norepinephrine, which are both synthesized from the same amino acid, tyrosine, share additional structural features. There, if you're thinking of a lock key mechanism for for neurotransmitter receptor interactions, well, dopamine and norepinephrine both have an amino group, the NH2 group, and they also share another structural feature of tyrosine, which is the catechol ring. It's this kind of carbon ring, and that is also something that both dopamine and norepinephrine share. So these two collectively, these two neurotransmitters, dopamine and norepinephrine, are known as catecholamines. They're not only monoamines, something they share with serotonin, but they're also like kind of a subset of the monoamines called the catecholamines. And neurons that release dopamine as their primary neurotransmitter are referred to as dopaminergic neurons. We're going to see norepinephrine is noradrenergic, but dopaminergic is what we're focusing on here. And there's also an abbreviation, for the neurotransmitter dopamine, and that's DA. Capital DA is for dopamine.